And inflation rises above average, with food inflation higher at 4.1%. And we begin with our headlining story. Former Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adham Baba is willing to give his cooperation in the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC's probe into allegations of corruption and irregularities in COVID-19 related procurement. Datuk Seri Dr. Adham, who held the portfolio when the pandemic first hit the country, admitted that he had received complaints about the matter, which occurred at the administrative level. According to him, in times of pandemic, many procurement processes were done without going through normal procedures, and there was also confusion in implementing the matter. On Tuesday, MACC Chief Tan Sri Azam Baki had said that there were elements of corruption uncovered involving the procurement of medical equipment and medicine during the COVID-19 pandemic. He said among instances of abuse of power were in diverting relief aid, fraud related to falsified medical protective equipment, and the bribery of enforcement officers when enforcing the movement control order. Hajj pilgrims who test positive for COVID-19 still have the chance to perform their pilgrimage. Lembaga Tabung Haji TH Executive Director Datuk Sri Syed Saleh Syed Abdul Rahman said if the said pilgrims are among those scheduled on flights early on in the Hajj season, then considerations can be made to reschedule their flights for later, provided they have been confirmed fully recovered before the last scheduled flight for the 2022 Hajj season.
Kalau jadual penerbangannya terakhir, bila dia positif, habislah, tak ada penerbangan lagi, kan? Kalau dia positif pada peringkat awal dan dia telah sembuh dan telah dibenarkan oleh pihak perubatan untuk pergi setelah melalui PCR test semula dan sebagainya, dan ada kekosongan lagi, insya-Allah kita akan uruskan penerbangan beliau ke Tanah Suci.
Datuk Sri Syed Saleh added that preparations are also in place should any pilgrims test positive while at the Holy Land. He said a medical team from the Health Ministry that is solely in charge of those who test positive for COVID-19 will be on hand. And in terms of facilities, isolation areas have been prepared at hotels should there be any positive cases, as well as special isolation wards at the local hospital. Malaysia's Consumer Price Index CPI rose 2.3% in April to 125.9 compared with 123.1 in the same month last year. Food inflation was also higher at 4.1%, with almost 90% of items in the food and beverages group recording increases. Chief Statistician Datuk Sri Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said this was followed by restaurants and hotels at 3.2% and transport 3%, as well as furnishings, household equipment and routine household maintenance at 2.7%. The increase in CPI surpassed the average inflation in Malaysia for the period of January 2011 to April this year at 1.9%. Now, an economist Nightline spoke to meanwhile said the government should address the issues of agriculture and food safety policies to stabilize food supply before it severely affects the people, especially the low-income group.
The government is correct in tackling the supply. First of all, they want to increase the supply by by taking off the AP permit for chicken and also wheat related products and all that. So this will increase, this will encourage more importers to import those items like chicken and the wheat products. So it will increase the supply. By increasing the supply, the prices can be controlled. How you want to increase products, vegetables and all that? by way of bringing back a Green Book program. Green Book program was very successful in the 1970s and the 1980s. Tun Abdul Razak introduced a Green Book program, and those you can give the idle land, like those land under the TNB power cables, power lines. Encourage the people to do farming there.
Meanwhile, the lack of chicken supply has led to some traders selling above the set ceiling price, while most traders sold whole chickens at 8 ringgit 90 sen per kilogram as set by the government. The lowest price was 6 ringgit 99 sen per kilogram, while some premises were selling at 8 ringgit 90 sen per kilogram, while others were also selling at 10 ringgit 50 sen per kilogram. It was also reported that fast food outlets are feeling the effects of the chicken supply shortage, forcing them to adjust their menus due to the current situation. And as for wheat flour, the increasing price posed a huge challenge for small traders. Suppliers and wholesalers are said to be setting limits on purchasing due to declining supply. In a check by our news crew around the Klang Valley on Wednesday, some traders have had to order wheat flour in advance to ensure adequate supply in their shops. The prolonged issue between Malaysia and Singapore will be resolved in a retreat between leaders of both countries, which will take place in the third quarter of this year. The matter was among those discussed in a four-eyed meeting between the Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, and his counterpart, Lee Hsien Loong, on Wednesday. The two leaders are currently in Tokyo, Japan, to attend the 27th Nikkei conference, which starts on Thursday. The meeting of more than half an hour at their hotel accommodation took place in a relaxed atmosphere, besides symbolizing the warmth and intimacy of bilateral relations between the two countries.
Bincang pasal retreat pemukiman antara Malaysia dan Singapura. Singapura akan menjadi tuan rumah pada tahun ini, dan kita bincang di segi tarikh. Mungkin akhir September ataupun awal Oktober. Jadi delegasi Malaysia akan ke Singapura untuk berbincang isu-isu yang mungkin tak selesai lagi, yang kita akan selesaikan.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri and Lee are scheduled to deliver keynote speeches at the morning session of the Nikkei conference on Thursday, along with several other heads of state. The Nikkei conference, held since 1995, is an annual gathering of political and economic leaders, as well as industry leaders from the Asia-Pacific region. Moving on, the changes in weather patterns is expected to either bring about heavy rainfall, resulting in floods, or extremely hot conditions, resulting in forest fires. Fire and Rescue Department Director General Datuk Seri Muhammad Hamdan Wahid said that the department was monitoring dozens of flood and forest fire hotspots. Datuk Seri Muhammad Hamdan said 12,500 personnel from all 327 fire stations nationwide have been put on alert, as the Malaysian Meteorology Department says the southwest monsoon is expected to bring about a dry spell until September. However, due to climate change, his team has been getting reports of flooding in some parts of Selangor as well. On Wednesday, for example, several areas in the Klang Valley were hit by flash floods following a heavy downpour in the earlier part of the day. The heavy rain started at about 10 a.m., affecting Jalan Rahmat, Jalan Ipoh Batu 3, Jalan Segambut, Jalan Dutamas 2, Lebuh Raya Sultan Iskandar towards Jalan Kuching, and Jalan Ampang in front of the Bukit Nanas waterfall. Floodwaters then receded within 30 minutes, and most of the places were located in low-lying areas. Kuala Lumpur City Council workers had to be dispatched to the affected areas to assist motorists. Scores killed in Texas school shooting. The details when we return. We're back with the foreign front. At least 19 students and 2 teachers were shot dead on Tuesday after an 18-year-old gunman opened fire at a Texas elementary school. prompting a furious President Joe Biden to denounce the United States gun lobby and vow to end the nation's cycle of mass shootings. The incident occurred when the suspect, identified as Salvador Ramos, a local resident and a U.S. citizen, was believed to have shot his grandmother, who survived, before heading to Robb Elementary School around noon local time, where he abandoned his vehicle and entered with a handgun and a rifle while wearing body armor. There he launched a bloody rampage that ended when he was killed, apparently shot by police. The motive was not immediately clear. North Korea fired 3 ballistic missiles on Wednesday, including one thought to be its largest intercontinental ballistic missile, after United States President Joe Biden ended an Asia trip where he vowed to bolster measures to deter the nuclear-armed state. According to officials, the missiles were fired in the space of less than an hour from the Sunan area in Pyongyang, which comes just a day after Biden left the region. Japan has also confirmed that at least 2 launches happened on Wednesday, but acknowledged that there may have been more. It added that the North also appeared to have conducted multiple experiments with a detonation device in preparation for its 7th nuclear test, but that the test is unlikely to occur in the coming days, but afterward. In response to the missile launches, the U.S. and South Korea held combined live-fire drills, including surface-to-surface missile tests involving the U.S. Army Tactical Missile System and the South's Hyunmoo-2 SRBM. In other news, Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was on Wednesday given the additional responsibility of running the finance ministry as the island nation grapples with its worst ever economic crisis. Wickremesinghe was sworn in as finance minister after 2 weeks of wrangling among coalition partners for the crucial position ahead of bailout talks with the International Monetary Fund. The 73-year-old is expected to soon unveil a revised budget promising relief for poorer Sri Lankans suffering through record inflation and spiraling food prices. The government has effectively ended subsidies on fuel by raising prices to a record high on Tuesday, and Wickremesinghe's administration is expected to hike electricity and water tariffs to raise much-needed revenue. After this breather, man shot dead at point-blank range. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor is staking claim to the 1 million ringgit white gold diamond bracelet seized by the police during a raid at the Pavilion residences 4 years ago. Her husband, former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak, is also seeking to recover 7 luxury watches seized by the police during the raid. The valuables were seized during a raid linked to the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB financial scandal. A picture of the jewellery was handed over by the prosecution to Datin Sri Rosmah on Wednesday. During proceedings before Kuala Lumpur High Court Judge Muhammad Jamil Hussein, Datin Sri Rosmah's lawyer Azamuddin Abdul Aziz said she would require 3 to 4 days to inspect the picture of the jewellery. The court fixed June 8th for next case management. Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi told the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Wednesday that a 13 million ringgit contribution given by a businessman to Yayasan Akal Budi was not a bribe but was for building a mosque and tahfiz school in Bagan Datuk. Perak. He said he had never promised any MACC projects to the businessman, textile wholesaler Junaid Asharab Sharif, as an inducement for the contribution because MACC did not come under the Home Ministry but was under the Finance Ministry. The Bagan Dato' MP said this when reading out his witness statement when making his defence against 47 charges, 12 on criminal breach of trust, 8 on corruption and 27 on money laundering involving millions of ringgit of Yayasan Akabudi funds. The former Deputy Prime Minister said the contribution was deposited into the client account of Lewis & Co., a fact which was confirmed by Junaid Asharab when he testified as the 36th prosecution witness. Apart from this, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid also denied receiving a 250,000 ringgit bribe from Junaid Asharab, saying the money was a loan given to his younger brother, Datuk Sri Nasai. Based on the testimony of Junaid Asharab during the prosecution stage in court, the cheque was a loan given to his younger brother. The hearing before Justice Datuk Colin Lawrence Sequeira continues on Thursday. Former Sabah Infrastructure Development Minister Datuk Peter Anthony, who was charged with falsifying a letter from the Office of University Malaysia Sabah UMS Deputy Vice Chancellor for a system maintenance contract work, will know his fate on Thursday. Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court Judge Azura Alwi is scheduled to read out the verdict at the end of the defence case at 9 a.m. On February 18th, the defence team closed its case after calling 3 witnesses, including Dato' Anthony, in the proceedings, which began on February 9th. At the prosecution stage, there were a total of 15 witnesses, including former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak. Dato' Anthony, the managing director of Syarikat Asli Jati, was charged under the Penal Code with forging a letter with the intention of being used for fraudulent purposes. He faces imprisonment for up to 7 years and a fine if found guilty. In Kedah, a suspected member of a triad organization was shot to death in a Gangland-style execution in front of a restaurant in Jalan Kampung Baru, Sungai Petani in Kedah at noon on Wednesday. The man, identified as 36-year-old S. Murali, died on the spot, having been shot at least 8 times in the body and head at point-blank range in broad daylight at 12:30 p.m. The man was killed outside a restaurant where he had gone with his wife, their child, and a friend to pack their lunch. As Murali opened the door of his multi-purpose vehicle with his wife and child still inside the restaurant, he was approached by 4 men who opened fire from close range. Kedah Police Chief Commissioner Wan Hassan Wan Ahmad said the victim was shot at a distance of about a meter and collapsed near the MPV. Investigations revealed that 4 men wearing full-face helmets and jackets approached and fired shots at the victim, and police found 8 bullet casings at the scene. Wan Hassan said checks revealed that the victim was wanted under the Security Offences Special Measures Act 2012, or Rosmah, in connection with gang-related activities and drug trafficking. Police, however, are still investigating the motive for the shooting and are working to track down all the suspects. The case will be investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code. The Malaysia Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, has foiled an attempt to smuggle out about 26 kilograms of drugs believed to be shabu in the waters of Tanjung Sepat, Selangor. Melaka and Negeri Sembilan MMEA Maritime Director, Captain Iskandar Ishak, said the drugs, worth about 1.04 million ringgit, were left in a grey bag near the beach and was discovered during a special operations patrol at about 10 p.m. on Monday night.
Pemeriksaan di persekitaran lokasi tidak menemui sebarang suspek atau bot dan dipercayai suspek telah berjaya melarikan diri. Manakala pemeriksaan ke atas beg mencurigakan itu telah menemui 26 paket plastik berwarna kuning seperti yang di atas meja kita ni, disyaki berisi habla kristal yang disyaki dadah jenis syabu. Semua dadah dipercayai sengaja ditinggalkan dan akan diambil oleh pihak seterusnya untuk diseludup keluar.
The drugs are believed to have been procured within Malaysia to be smuggled out by a syndicate using land and sea trafficking routes. Captain Iskandar said based on intelligence gathered, the drugs were bound for a neighboring country and were sufficient to supply some 56,000 users. The case is being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act.